And Project Labyrinth.
Jonathan Wilson, a friend of the show, writes for this. He's actually he's the webmaster. He writes everything. For example, he's got a story with some up of Doris Bither, and he just writes a lot of paranormal stuff. Basically, he sent us an email with this story here, A Tale of the Jinn. Now, when we talk about the jinn, what do you know so far? What's the sum up? If someone asks you in one sentence what the jinn is, could you do it? Because I can't. It's too hard to explain in one sentence.
A sentence with a bunch of commas in them.
No, run-on sentence, perhaps.
Yeah. The jinn is like another species with their own free will, like human beings.
He sums up the jinn and the story about the king of the jinns. And the jinns are defined formally as an ancient race of beings that inhabit an unseen world in dimensions beyond the visible universe of humans, and their timeline of existence coincides with our own. So they're just like us. They're just another race of beings. They're not... Well, we were stating before that I guess you would call them supernatural because they can take the form of anything.
Yep.
But most of the time they take the form of human in public because they don't want attention. They tend to stay away from human civilizations anyways. So they were created by Allah, who created humans and angels around the same time. Allah created the jinn from smokeless fire, humans from clay, and angels from pure light. And it's stated that they have as much free will as humans do. The jinn exhibit the same personalities as human beings are. They're influenced by the scales of good and bad and neutral ideologies just like us. So they too have, I guess you would say, they consider that there's a God and a devil. Story about how they were created by Allah, and they were ordered to bow down to Adam. Now, who's Adam in biblical terms? Who is Adam?
In biblical terms, Adam is the very first human being created by God or Allah. It's also in the Quran too.
Right. And all of them bowed down to Adam except one, and his name was Azazel. If you could call it a he, is there really a he or a she?
I'm not sure. It's always depicted as a male. Right. Another name I heard is Iblis, but...
Right. There are multiple names for the same characters. And Allah threw Azazel out of paradise and was henceforth called Shaytan, which
Shaytan.
is their version of Satan, basically. And Shaytan holds resentment towards all human beings and all jinn who accept humans, and continues to whisper evil suggestions into the ears of all humans and jinn alike. If we talk about our own personal religious connections, what would you say you are? If someone asks you what's your religion, or what's your religious background?
I have multiple religious backgrounds. I have no religion right now.
You don't stick to one. So, and you've read the Quran yourself, the English translation, of course, not the... Well, the original language is Arabic, right?
Yeah, written in Arabic.
The story in general, the outline of the story is pretty much their interpretation of...
The creation.
Right, the creation of the world.
Yeah.
So it's not much different. What would you say are the biggest differences between the Quran and the New Testament or the Old Testament?
Quran is mostly a book of guidance, where the Bible is a collection of stories. There's also stories in the Quran too. But the Quran is more simple. It's more give you commands of what to do.
Yeah, I looked at it, and most of the chapters, or would you call them chapters, or what would you call them? Surahs. Most of those were just lists. They're basically pages of 10 Commandments over and over again. That's what I saw.
When I read the Quran, there's all